He sees the heaven-slashing sword about to strike again. Elder makes up his mind. He actually knocked his own grandson out. Made him a scapegoat. Bodyguards saw Elder acting so cruel, and they all fled. Elder leaped up and caught up with one of them. He extended his fangs and bit the person's neck. After he drained the essence completely, his severed arm grew back, then transformed into a stream of light flying out the window. Carson quickly followed, controlling the heaven-slashing sword and shooting it towards his back. Unexpectedly for Carson, the elder who was cut in half has not died yet. It turns out that this elder has already been demonized. Carson gathered the true fire of Samadhi in his hands and struck it towards the elder. This time, the elder didn't even hum. He was burned directly into ashes. Following Magnolia's aura Carson to this storage room, Magnolia screamed, thinking it was Gunnar. When she saw that it was Carson, she cried while expressing her gratitude to Carson. At this time, Daisy called. It turned out to be in the four-way alliance competition, and the Murong family was at a disadvantage and needed his help. The so-called four-way alliance consists of the big bosses from North River, White Horse, East Lake, and West Lake, who regularly allocate resources and benefits through martial arts competitions. In the fight, Milo from East Lake, who was invited by Milo, quickly defeated the Grandmaster Under West from West Lake with just one punch. Just as someone was wondering who was the one who knocked out Grandmaster with one punch, this person arrogantly smiled and said, "I am Abram. Remember my name, you ants." Milo on the stage was extremely pleased because he had just won a game that allowed him to obtain the majority of the benefits from West Lake. Who is stronger, 8-armed Vajrav's Heavenly Xian Divine Fist or 8-armed Vajrav's Heavenly Xian Divine Fist? Just now, Milo threatened Hank arrogantly. This time he must hand over half of White Horse. Hank is well aware of Abram's power. He told Arthur not to participate, but Arthur insisted on facing Abram to buy time. As long as they can delay until Carson arrives, the Murong family can turn the tables. In a blink of an eye, Arthur has already landed on the arena. Arthur looks solemn, knowing that the outcome of this battle is uncertain. He hopes Carson can come to the rescue soon. Abram looked at Arthur with a disdainful smile. "You are just cannon fodder. But even a lion must exert all its strength when hunting a rabbit." He finished speaking and his aura suddenly exploded. He slapped towards Arthur. Arthur immediately used the phantom cloud palm, and countless palm shadows appeared in the sky like mist, displaying immense power. However, he was directly scattered by Abram's palm, causing Arthur to be shaken and fly backwards. Arthur clearly suffered serious injuries, but still refused to fall down and insisted on continuing the battle. Abram roared angrily, and then threw another punch. Facing this punch, Arthur knew he couldn't block it. Just as he closed his eyes and waited for death, a loud shout came, "Get out of here!" At the same time, a blue light blocked Abram's fatal attack. The one who made the move was Carson, who arrived just in time. Arthur immediately breathed a sigh of relief. "Carson, I'm glad you're finally here." Milo on the stage heard this and looked puzzled. "Carson? Isn't he just a high school student?" Abram laughed even more arrogantly. "You little brat are Carson. Stop bragging. Kneel down, apologize, and kowtow obediently. I might spare your life." Kneel down, kowtow, and beg for mercy, and I might spare your life. Arrogant. Dare to disrespect Abram. Are you tired of living? Milo just took over. Carson turned his head and glared angrily at Milo, with a scene of mountains of corpses and seas of blood reflected in his eyes. Milo's face instantly turned pale, and he was so scared that he screamed and collapsed to the ground. Then he screamed for help as if he had seen a ghost and ran into the crowd. Although this move caught Abram by surprise, he still looked down on Carson. He boasted that his strength was so strong that he couldn't imagine giving Carson any chance. After speaking, Abram directly unleashed the powerful 8-armed Vajra. A huge furious Vajra phantom condensed behind him. Arthur's face was full of shock. This is the unique ultimate skill of the 8-armed divine ape Ezekiel from 20 years ago. He is actually Ezekiel's disciple. Ezekiel is the founder of the Southeast Azure Dragon Hall. 20 years ago, he led Azure Dragon Hall to defeat 8 grandmasters in the martial arts world, spreading fear among the people. Rumor has it that the Greatly later threatened him with nuclear weapons, forcing him to leave. Carson looked at Abram, with a hint of smile on his lips, as the overwhelming hostility loomed in the air. To be able to create such martial art on Emperor's Throne Star, this person deserves the title of genius. He then launched a punch, mountain-splitting strike, towards the 8-armed Vajra Phantom. The intense collision created a heatwave that instantly swept across the entire venue, while Abram was sent flying backwards from the impact. Abram, who had just gotten up, tried to run, but Carson struck out with a river-splitting palm, hitting him across the air. Abram was once again struck and sent flying. Lying on the ground, Abram's only thought at this moment was to escape. Without saying a word, he headed towards the door in a flash. Carson has summoned the heaven-slashing sword, which shone with a golden light. In the blink of an eye, it pierced through Abram's chest, as Abram fell to the ground and couldn't get up. The whole crowd gasped as Carson took down the madman in 3 moves. Carson turned and smiled at Milo. Milo was so scared that he fell to the ground. "Spare me, Carson. I'm willing to give East Lake to you." Carson turned his head and looked at Big Boss Wes by West Lake. Wes immediately understood and promised to give West Lake to him. Carson looked at Hank, the Murong family leader, and said, "Please help me take care of the areas of East Lake and West Lake." Murong was completely convinced by Carson and bowed to accept the task. Carson has just returned to the Divine Eagle Special Forces base. Bentley found him and said, "Do you know you killed Ezekiel's disciple?" Carson chuckled indifferently, and then what happened? Bentley mentioned that this person almost caused chaos in the Greatly martial arts world back then, forcing the country to use extreme measures to drive him away. Now he has a reason to invade the Greatly again. Carson said nonchalantly, "If he dares to come, I'll just kill him and be done with it." Bentley was very unhappy with his attitude. "You're too arrogant, kid. Don't underestimate your enemies," Bentley warned. Carson, feeling helpless, simply replied, "Okay," with a dismissive gesture. When Bentley left, he once again reminded him not to cause any trouble during this time. Carson watched Bentley leave with a pensive expression on his face. It's time to break through to Chi Condensation 6th layer. Half a month later, Carson received the acceptance letter from MO University. After 600 years, he finally returned here once again. He vowed not to leave any regrets this time. Half a month ago, he took time off to participate in the college entrance examination, getting the exact score he needed just to meet an old friend again in this university. The dormitory door opened, and 3 people sat individually on their respective lower bunks. The one with dark skin named Leonard is a member of a minority ethnic group. He is the most scheming person in the dormitory. The one wearing glasses is called Anakin. The one dressed in ancient Chinese costume is named Salem, who is a lover of traditional costumes. However, Carson knows that there are still 2 guys who haven't come back. Carson also made a self-introduction, and soon the group became familiar with each other. The scene shifts to Carson's Yen Lake Villa, where 2 dark figures lurk in the distance among the grass. Green Viper said to Red Wolf, "I remember you have an even more powerful household item. Why didn't you bring it?" Red Wolf raised the rocket launcher behind him and said angrily, "Don't mention the Great Lees at this ghost place. The security check is too strict. It was already tough enough to bring this one in." Green Viper looked at the villa across Yen Lake and asked, "Are you sure this thing can successfully destroy the target?" "Don't worry. My baby can level the entire hill." After saying that, Red Wolf pulled the trigger and fired a rocket. A rocket with a long trail of fire swiftly flew into the Yen Lake Villa. A deafening explosion erupted, and a small mushroom cloud suddenly burst open in the sky above the Yen Lake Villa. Just as the two were smugly preparing to retreat, Callie's voice sounded behind them. "Who are you? Was the shell just now set off by you guys?" The two turned their heads abruptly to look at Green Viper, sighing that it was so beautiful. Red Wolf thought an angel was descending. If she had known that beauty lived inside, she would not have detonated it. Callie shouted angrily, "It's really you guys who did it! Just wait to die!" As soon as her words fell, she fiercely slapped towards the two of them. Red Wolf was immediately scared and hid behind Green Viper. Green Viper shouted loudly, and a green light surged from his body. He punched towards Callie. With a banging sound, Green Viper took a few steps back while Callie stood in place. A curious expression appeared on her face. "Are you also a martial artist?" Green Viper raised his fist in response. "No, I am not a martial artist but an esper who controls the wind element. According to your power classification of the Greatly Man, I am probably equivalent to one of your grandmasters." Callie sneered at Grandmaster. "You also dare?" Green Viper glared at Callie angrily. "Woman, I will make you understand the consequences of offending me. O wind element that wanders between heaven and earth, please heed my call. Attack with wind blade." Green Viper finished chanting the spell and pushed his palm forward. Two blue wind blades shot towards Callie. At this moment, Red Wolf shouted strangely behind, "Green Viper, don't hurt her!" Green Viper angrily retorted, "What are you thinking about at this critical moment? It's either her or us if she doesn't die." What a useless move. Let me show you the true power of the Greatly martial art. With a wave of his hand, Phoenix Song's sword slashed through with a chilling light. Phoenix soars through the 9 heavens, only to see Callie seemingly transforming into a fire phoenix, soaring through the sky. "Run!" A loud cry from Green Viper, who turned around and fled. Red Wolf was caught off guard and didn't react in time. He roared at Green Viper, "Damn it! Don't you know I'm just a bomb expert? I can't run fast. Wait for me." Callie in midair accelerated even faster. She directly aimed her sword at the back of Green Viper and struck down. Green Viper felt the huge threat from behind and used Wind Element to form an energy shield around him, but it was unable to withstand Callie's sword strike. His arm was instantly chopped off, emitting a painful scream. "Little beauty, you are too fierce. I'm going to punish you." Red Wolf held a gun behind him and aimed it at Callie. At the same time he fired, Callie also drew her sword. However, all the bullets were split apart by Callie's sword, creating sparks flying everywhere. Red Wolf exclaimed in horror, "How is this possible? My bullets are specially modified to penetrate even steel plates." Callie spat out the word, "Die," and a shadow flashed as the Phoenix Song sword swiftly cut across Red Wolf's neck. After Red Wolf died, Callie did not rush to kill Green Viper. She slowly raised her jade hand, pointing at Green Viper and said, "Who sent you?" Green Viper snorted, "I don't know anything. Don't expect to get anything out of me." Callie smiled coldly, "If I hand you over to the officials of the Greatly, do you think they will be interested in you?" Green Viper immediately cowered. "We were hired by the Life Chaser assassins from Southeast Asia, commissioned by the Azure Dragon Hall. The target is someone named Carson." Callie squinted her beautiful eyes slightly. "Very well, thank you for your cooperation." Green Viper thought that he could be let off the hook just by saying a few words. When he had just turned to escape, Callie raised her hand, and a sword swept across Green Viper's neck. "Did I say you could leave?" After taking down these two assassins, she muttered to herself, "Southeast Asia's Azure Dragon Hall. Carson, who have you offended again?" She quickly messaged Carson about this matter. Carson took note of these two names, Life Chaser Assassins and Azure Dragon Hall. Someone called out to Carson from behind. The one calling was Daisy. "Carson, you didn't expect to see me at this university too, did you?" Carson indeed didn't expect it, and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. "With your grades, you could have gone to a better school. How should I respond to your affection?" Daisy smiled at Carson and said, Thank you for saving my dad last time. It's nothing. After all, you were the one who asked me, and I didn't make the trip for nothing. Just as Carson finished speaking, he suddenly grabbed Daisy and leaped into the air. The spot where they were originally standing cracked open with a huge crevice. Then, within a few seconds, the crack quickly closed up, as if nothing had ever happened. Daisy was terrified, her heart pounding heavily. What's going on? We almost got swallowed by the ground. Carson gave Daisy a reassuring look, and then turned to face a small grove of trees not far ahead, his voice sounding somewhat cold. Come out. As soon as his words fell, 3 figures leaped strangely out of the grove. A scholar dressed in a long robe holding an ancient book. A powerful black man with a large snake hanging around his neck, and a long-haired elder. Daisy asked in surprise, "Who are these people? They are so strange." Black Man Hooligan looked at Daisy and chuckled. "Hey, little girl, you look very pretty. How about sticking with me?" Daisy felt a wave of disgust in her heart. Long-haired elder snorted coldly, "Musa, stop the nonsense and kill him quickly." Carson looked coldly at the group of people, and finally fixed his gaze on the scholar. "The earth manipulation technique just now was released by you. You surprisingly understand the technique. Could it be that you also come from the technique lineage?" Carson sneered. "You think you can call that a technique? In my eyes, it's just child's play." The scholar, enraged, said, "How dare you look down on my technique? I will take your life for this, kid." After speaking, the scholar pointed fiercely at the ancient book, then cast the spell on the rock golem. With a loud noise, the earth shook violently as 3 stone giants climbed out from below ground. Musa pointed at Carson and mocked, angering Santana. "Ha ha, kid, you are in for it now." Santana gave orders to the stone giant. "Crush him for me." The stone giant immediately took a step forward and thundered towards Carson to crush him. Daisy was scared and hid behind Carson. She reminded him to be careful, and Carson smiled lightly, saying, "Don't worry, it's just a pile of rubble." After he finished speaking, he pushed his palm forward and uttered a word. "Ban!" An invisible energy wave emanated from his palm, rapidly spreading out in all directions. With a loud bang, the stone giant was shattered by this blast of energy. Santana looked at the stone giant reduced to rubble, their face filled with sadness. "You dare to destroy my rock golem. We are now sworn enemies." Musa put away the smile on their face, turned to look at the elder beside them, and said, "Raylan, it seems this kid is not easy to deal with. Let's take action together." Raylan snorted coldly. "It should have been done long ago." Musa ordered the giant serpent to go suck his blood. "My little darling." When the giant serpent flew towards Carson, Raylan also set off. He flashed and threw a punch at Carson. Carson looked at the two of them, snorted coldly, "A group of ants." Then he threw a punch with a loud bang. The immense force directly sent Musa and Raylan flying. The giant snake was killed with a single punch by Carson. Musa looked at the dead snake with heartache. "You actually killed my precious baby. I will peel your skin off." He roared angrily, and suddenly turned into a round and chubby bouncing ball. He fiercely smashed towards Carson in midair. Carson threw another punch, but this punch landed on Musa. He was unexpectedly rebounded with most of the force. At this moment, Raylan launched a surprise attack from behind with a pair of swords in hand. Carson sneered coldly with a sweep of his eyes and said, "Get lost." He turned around and kicked Raylan, sending him flying. Seeing Raylan getting beaten by Musa, he smirked and said, "Let's team up." Raylan let Musa take the lead. Musa's body swelled like a ball once again, and he charged at Carson. Raylan then flanked him from behind. Carson spun his hand in front of his chest and calmly recited, "Heavenly Shin Divine Fist, third form, suppressing the universe." His palm held the sky, causing the entire space to tremble. Raylan and Musa, who were charging forward, were struck by a mighty force descending from the sky, sending them flying backward suddenly. Carson, who was standing still, suddenly had a change in his facial expression and turned around abruptly, only to see Daisy's jade amulet exploded. At the same time, a figure was bounced by the reverse force of the shield to the air. In just an instant, that figure immediately disappeared mysteriously, as if blending into the air. This old man is a grandmaster of the divine perception realm. I don't know if Carson can defeat him. Just now, luckily Carson gave Daisy the amulet. Otherwise, this beauty might have been in danger. Carson snorted coldly and came out. Shadow Assassin suddenly appeared and launched a surprise attack on Carson. Carson dodged with incredible speed. Then he punched Shadow Assassin, sending him flying. Just as Shadow Assassin was preparing to escape again, using the rebound force, Carson pointed out the direction of the heaven-slashing sword with one finger. The heaven-slashing sword pierced through Shadow Assassin's chest at a speed almost invisible to the naked eye. As he faced death, he couldn't believe that he, the top assassin of the Lifechaser organization, would lose his life like this. Witnessing the strongest assassin being killed by Carson, Musa and a few others looked terrified. They speculated that Carson might be the legendary sword immortal. Carson turned to the group and said lightly, "It's your turn." The group knew they had no chance to escape and decided to fight Carson to the death. Raylan launched the attack first. He executed a move called Cross Crescent Slash. Musa's body once again turned into a meatball and fiercely smashed into Carson. Carson remained silent, holding his palm up. He pressed fiercely into the void. A giant golden fist print descended from the sky, instantly smashing several people into pieces. Carson finally breathed a sigh of relief. He asked Daisy to go back with him. Daisy asked him what to do with the bodies of these assassins. Carson replied lightly, "Don't worry, someone will come to clean up." The scene shifts to Zhonghai Mansion, the tallest commercial building, Oriental Pearl Tower. Kaisen, at Carson's request, establishes the Mo Family Chamber of Commerce here, collaborating with the business elites of Truitt clan to build a commercial empire centered around the life elixir. Wearing a Taoist robe, Kaisen looks down at Zhonghai below, his mind filled with countless thoughts. He has long seen through the power and profit of the mortal world. He aims to pursue the immortal realm, where Master Carson stands tall at the pinnacle of the universe's starry sky for eternity. The arrival of a person interrupted Kaisen's thoughts at this moment. Colby looked at Kaisen and said lightly, "With the Taoist robe you're wearing, you should be a hermit sage who remains aloof from the world. Why bother to compete for fame and gain in the mortal world? Your martial arts cultivation has already reached the pinnacle of the inner realm. Why can't you let go of the secular world and focus on cultivating diligently, striving to reach the transformation realm as soon as possible?" Colby's eyes flashed with surprise, as he couldn't see through Kaisen's cultivation achievement. However, Kaisen could easily see through his strength, highlighting the obvious power difference. However, he still threatened Kaisen to leave Zhonghai with Mo Family Chamber of Commerce, or else the Yun family, as the largest clan in Zhonghai, would not be easy to deal with. Do you think the Yun family is impressive? In my eyes, they are not worth mentioning at all. Kaisen's cold laughter looks just like Carson's. Being humiliated in public, Colby dares to be angry but dare not speak out. Kaisen continued, "Go back and tell those people that if they are not satisfied, they can come at me openly or in secret. Mo Family Chamber of Commerce is determined to become the uncrowned king of Zhonghai City. You are going to be enemies with the whole Zhonghai. I hope you don't regret it in the future. What ability do you have to resist my master Carson?" At the same time, Carson disguised himself as Raylan and came to the Lifechaser organization. A guard immediately saluted him upon seeing him. Carson ignored them calling himself master. It seems that this Raylan has a high status in the Lifechaser organization. Carson proceeded unimpeded all the way. He entered directly into the heart of the Lifechaser organization's headquarters. He took a close look and surprisingly found that the patterns on the stone pillars were the totems of the 4 great holy beasts of the Greatly. He couldn't help but wonder, could the Lifechaser organization have been created by martial artists? Has the task been completed? A sudden voice rang out. Carson looked across at the stone wall engraved with a soaring dragon pattern. The voice was coming from behind that stone wall. Raylan's voice replied in Carson's tone. It's done, but everyone else is dead. The voice sounded puzzled. Then how come you made it back? Carson said with his head down. I came back to give you something in person. Just as his words fell, the black stone wall slowly rose up, and a figure appeared in front of Carson. The person quickly flew to his side. He reached out his hand towards him. Hand over whatever it is to me. Carson shook his head. I must meet Lifechaser Master in person. A look of surprise flickered in the man's eyes. Raylan, how come you don't even recognize me? Carson looked at him with a strange smile. If a person at the Inner Realm Pinnacle is the leader of the Lifechaser organization, how can they control the Grandmasters under them? The person exclaimed. You're not Raylan. Who are you? Carson at this moment took off his disguise and smiled, saying, You sent 2 groups of people to kill me. Don't you know who I am? After speaking, he grabbed his collar and said, If you don't speak then I will use the soul-searching technique to see for myself. I'll take you to Old Man and lead Carson to enter the area behind the stone wall. Carson discovered that there was actually another world behind the stone wall. Above, you can see the seawater flowing, and some fish slowly swimming by from above. At the end, a skinny elder is sitting cross-legged on the edge of the stone wall. Just now, that person leaned close to the elder's ear and said, Master Dark Shadow's mission has failed. The target is now coming to the door. Bloodhen Lifechaser glanced at Carson and said, Young man, you are the first prey brave enough to come here. Tell me, who hired you to kill me? I can give you a quick death. Bloodhen Lifechaser shook his head and said, Keeping the employer's secret is the bottom line for us assassins. It's okay, then I'll find out myself. After speaking, he reached out his hand, ready to search Carson's soul. Bloodhen Lifechaser disappeared in the blink of an eye. His figure suddenly appeared behind Carson and threw a punch at Carson. Although Carson dodged the punch, he felt somewhat surprised that the person turned out to be a Divine Perception Realm Grandmaster. Grandmaster in 3 realms: Chi Realm, Bodyguard Realm, Divine Perception Realm. Bloodhand and Lifechaser are the first Divine Perception Realm Grandmasters Carson has ever encountered. Carson suddenly looked very excited because he was eager to battle against a top expert. I happen to have Bloodhen Lifechaser on me to test my current cultivation achievement. Both of them were exchanging blows fiercely, each punch hitting flesh. One strike separated them. Bloodhen Lifechaser unexpectedly developed a sense of admiration and wanted to become Carson's disciple. He told Carson that his organization is a huge one with an annual income of billions, and he doesn't know how many people are coveting it. Carson smirked disdainfully, thinking of becoming my master. You are really not worthy. Bloodhen Lifechaser's face changed drastically in anger. You are asking for trouble yourself. Waves of crimson mist began to fill the entire cave. This is the blood domain released by Bloodhen Lifechaser. Carson's figure is no longer visible in it. However, Carson doesn't care about this superficial technique. He kicked him directly in the head. Bloodhen Lifechaser, who was almost knocked unconscious by the kick, was curious how Carson found out. Carson couldn't be bothered to answer such childish questions. Quickly tell me the employer. I can make it easy for you. Bloodhen Lifechaser laughed out loud. You're just a blind cat stumbling upon a dead mouse. I don't believe you can even hit me. Carson didn't waste words, and threw a punch without hesitation. This time, Bloodhen Lifechaser was well prepared. Carson narrowly avoided a punch from him. At this moment, Bloodhen Lifechaser stopped pretending and directly unleashed his ultimate move. The Azura Blood Blade, a blood-red long blade completely formed by chi, appeared in midair, emitting a terrifying aura of death. Bloodhen Lifechaser slashed towards Carson with a single strike. Carson's punch directly shattered his proud ultimate move, Mountain-Splitting Strike. Bloodhen Lifechaser was shaken and slumped to the ground. He was completely shocked by Carson's terrifying strength. Without saying a word, he turned and ran. Carson smirked and said, "You can't escape." Soon, at a seaside, Bloodhand Lifechaser was caught up by Carson. At that moment, he was still thinking about handing over the Lifechaser organization to Carson in exchange for his life. He was pierced through the chest by a golden light. Carson smiled. "Killing you or me will result in obtaining those things." In this battle, Carson realized that he must break through his own strength as soon as possible. The Elder's strength is a bit exaggerated. He can even transform into a true dragon, almost killing Kaisen, who is already a Grandmaster. Just now, during the Mid-Autumn Festival gathering at MO University, Daisy was a bit disappointed when she didn't see Carson. Our good friend Aubrey joked that she is almost turning into a waiting for husband rock. Daisy blushed and screamed, "You are just teasing me." Aubrey laughed heartily and said that you should have taken a picture of her earlier as evidence. At this moment, a cute guy walked up to Aubrey. He mustered up the courage and extended his hand. "May I invite you, the great beauty, to dance with me?" Aubrey readily agreed, just as her hand was about to rest in the young handsome guy's palm. Suddenly, a hand preemptively grabbed Aubrey's hand. "If you want to dance, you can only dance with me," Omari said dominantly, staring at Aubrey. This Omari is the legitimate son of the Zhonghai family, known as the top martial artist in Zhonghai, coexisting with the powerful Lai family in the martial arts and secular worlds, collectively known as the twin heroes of Zhonghai. The handsome boy didn't know his identity and immediately exclaimed, "This classmate was invited by me first." Omari coldly turned his head and said, "If you don't want to die, then get lost." Aubrey didn't want to dance with Omari in the first place, so she asked him to let go. Daisy on the side couldn't bear it anymore, and couldn't help but scold Omari to let go of Aubrey. "You are bullying people too much. I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Even if Hank is here, he wouldn't dare to interfere with me." Even though Omari is so arrogant, Daisy still clings to Aubrey's arm and doesn't let Omari drag her away. Omari is gritting his teeth in anger. "It seems that you refuse the toast and get the punishment of drinking." Daisy is not backing down. "Do you still want to hit a woman?" At this time, Carson's roommate and also Gu family young Masters Creed stepped forward, saying that treating two girls like this is a bit excessive, isn't it? Omari sneered and said, "Creed, your dad is like a dog, begging me to accept gifts at my doorstep for 3 consecutive years. I ignore him completely. What are you then?" Creed, infuriated by his father being publicly insulted, threw a punch at him. Omari casually punched him, sending him flying. Omari walked up to him, looking down on him. "You trash from the outsider realm, don't bother me again," he said. "Who's the trash?" Carson's voice came from behind him. "Don't bother my roommate, you inter-realm trash. Who do you think you are to talk to me like this?" "Just a member of the inner realm, nothing more than a snap of the fingers." Carson finished speaking, and then fed the essence-nourishing pill into Creed's mouth. Creed immediately sat cross-legged and began practicing the technique to regulate his breathing. Omari gave a cold smile, and was curious to see what they would perform next. Carson gently patted Creed on the shoulder, and whispered a word softly. A powerful aura emanated from Creed's body, unexpectedly breaking through his meridians, and allowing him to instantly break through to the inner realm. Omari looked at Carson, his face full of shock. Carson smirked disdainfully and said, "Open your eyes wider, and keep watching carefully." The aura on Creed surged again, unexpectedly reaching a major mastery in the inner realm. Omari is feeling sour and resentful at this moment. It is said that the first-class spirit herb was actually used by Carson on an outsider realm martial artist, which is simply a waste of a priceless treasure. Carson smiled faintly. "I am willing." Omari was silenced by the retort, his eyes darkening. When Creed opened his eyes, his heart was filled with joy. Then he bowed to Carson and said, "I can never repay your kindness and guidance in this lifetime." "Don't say those useless words. Get up and make the person who humiliated you pay the price. The moment the words fell silent, Creed punched Omari. Omari coldly snorted and did not place Creed in his eyes. As a result of his carelessness, he took a solid punch. Creed seized the opportunity and lunged forward again. Omari finally got serious and dodged this punch at the same time. He crossed his hands back and forth in front of him a dozen times, but completed it in an instant, his speed reaching its peak. Even Carson was slightly amazed that this technique actually coincided with the trajectory of the Great Tao. It seems that the Yun family still has some skills. Omari only saw both hands seemingly holding an invisible giant blade high in the air, slashing down at Creed, a heaven-splitting slash. Creed threw a punch, mountain-splitting Omari was hit, and sent flying back like a shell. Carson walked up to him and said, "Omari, you've lost." But Omari was not convinced. Carson threatened Omari that in front of the Yun family, Carson was still just an ant. Carson did not continue to attack and told him to roll away. In any case, the Yun family would come looking for him sooner or later. As he left, Omari gave Aubrey a resentful glare. "I will find Chandler to settle our accounts properly." Aubrey angrily shouted, "You are simply unreasonable." After the party ended, on the way back to the dorm with Daisy, Carson suddenly stopped. "Daisy, is there anything you want to ask me?" "You will say what you want to say on your own, and there's no use asking if you don't want to say, right?" Carson didn't answer, his eyes dimmed. He thought Daisy shouldn't look so humble and lowly. He wasn't sure if he had protected her or harmed her in this reincarnation. Carson quickly returned to the small courtyard of the villa he rented. And there were two unwelcome guests on the roof. It is Omari and the Yun family grandmaster Jason that he'd brought.